This is Rap the News, and we're going to get into the talk of reparations. And like when I talk, I have solutions. I just don't talk without solutions. So in my speech, there is a solution for something. Because if you talk without solutions, you are a part of the problem. So we're going to get into reparations. And what is reparations? Reparations is making the amends for a wrong one has done by paying money to or otherwise helping those who have been wronged. Now, we were promised 40 acres and a mule. That never happened. And that was January 16, 1865. Never happened. Instead, they passed laws and everything else to put the crunch on black people. Okay, now, the truth is that none of the Gentiles want to say is that they simply cannot afford to give you reparations without being in danger themselves. That's it. They can't afford reparations. So let me put it in layman terms. Okay, you're the boss and you got enough to feed your family and to keep your family afloat, and someone's been working for you for a long time and you promised to pay them. On payday you said, I can't pay you because if I pay you, then my family is going to do without. So instead of my family doing without, you just stay fucked over there. That's the state of the European nations with reparations. With that said, let's get into it.
We are talking about 1/4 of the world, and the point has been made that if reparations were to be made to all of the former British colonies, it would bankrupt the Bank of England. Now that may be a good thing, but I do want to make a few points from a historical perspective. In the most famous historical case, the demand for reparations from Germany after the First World War contributed to the German financial crisis, virtual bankruptcy, and polarization leading to Nazi Germany.
You're writing, quote, the proposals are not intended to mitigate evil. They're intended to make Elizabeth Warren or Kamala Harris or Kirsten Gillibrand President of the United States. Kurt, your reaction.
Oh, well, look, I couldn't support this more. I'm a conservative. I want the Republican to win. And Tom's absolutely right. This kind of moral idiocy is poison in the swing states. I mean, I want to see these guys go into Ohio saying, hey guys, everybody, reparations. That's the real issue. Not the economy, not getting your kids out of endless wars, reparations. But Mike, I'm still puzzled. How does this work? My beautiful wife escaped from the Democrats' favorite communist hellhole, Cuba. How much does she owe? And my great-great-grandfather, he fought with the Union Army. Do I get a discount? How does this work? It's stupid. It's immoral. And I want the Democrats to keep doing it and self-destruct.
Said, well, how would those Africans have got along if we just left them in West Africa? Didn't we do them a favor? We made them Americans, didn't we? We brought them here. Do they wish they had not been removed? Now, this argument also, I think, shows a very bad conscience.
One of the biggest questions, when they're asked this question is how, right? How exactly are you going to repay the debt of slavery, and who is going to repay the debt of slavery exactly?
This is exactly right, and Bernie Sanders said this last night on CNN. I mean, I'm sounding like a Bernie supporter here, but the fact is that Sanders is clearer on this than Kamala Harris or Elizabeth Warren. And when Kamala Harris is asked how, she immediately begins citing all sorts of kind of normal Democratic government programs that she'd like to see pushed anyway, which is not slavery reparations. That's just what we call the Democratic political agenda. The reality is that slavery reparations per se are completely unworkable. Even big advocates of it, like Ta-Nehisi Coates, have failed to come up with any actual metric for how exactly we'd go about doing that. What do you do with, for example, Barack Obama, whose father was black and not from the United States, and therefore not having history with slavery, and a mother who is white? Would his family receive slavery reparations? How about Kamala Harris, whose father is Jamaican and mother is Indian? Does she receive slavery reparations? From whom? Does she receive slavery reparations from me? My great-grandparents got here in 1907, long after slavery was over, and lived their entire lives in the North, where Jim Crow was not in effect. It's almost impossible, I think not almost, it is impossible to come up with a fair metric for recompensing slavery 10 generations after slavery's end. If you want to say that recompense should be had for people who benefited from Jim Crow, again, for people who were harmed by Jim Crow, I think that's an easier case. But again, it's going to be hard to determine who pays, who should get how much, and who receives.
Was there an original traceable offense? Was there a taking, a theft, a rape, a dispossession, a confiscation? There isn't a thinking person who can say no to that. The evidence is very clear, and it mounts with every chapter of historical inquiry. Did it consist of, as I say, a confiscation? Can it therefore be made good? If not all of it can be made good, can some of it be made good? Can any of it be repaired? Don't make the best the enemy of the good. Is there anything to be rescued from this terrible story? Is there anything that can be done about it once it's been recognized? We cannot possibly undo. I actually don't think we even dare think of the scope of what it would take to imagine undoing the damage done to Africa, especially to West Africa, by the period of colonization, colonial division, plunder, slavery, and rape.
2/3 of Americans oppose that idea. There, we put up on the screen, 68% were against reparations payments. I wonder if you could just talk a little bit more about what it is you would do as president when it came to that, and if you are worried that sends a message to that 68% of Americans who say they're against it, that maybe you are out of the mainstream a little.
Well, you know, this is not something that I think of through a political lens. I have long believed that this country should resolve its original sin of slavery, and that one of the ways we should consider doing that is through reparations for people who are the descendants of slaves. It is interesting to me that under our Constitution and otherwise, that we compensate people if we take their property. Shouldn't we compensate people if they were property sanctioned by the state? So I believe that is a conversation that's worth having, and I see that as right and wrong. I don't see that as political or non-political. If I'm president, what I said was that I would establish a task force to look at how that might be done. I know that there's a lot of disagreement, both about whether it should be done and if it were done, how it would be done. You know, I'm not naive about that. But I do think that dark cloud still hangs over our country. I believe that we ought to move forward in the 21st century as one nation with one destiny, and that until that issue is resolved, until that original sin is addressed, we may think that we're moving forward as one nation, and I don't think that we ever really will.
Now, we had slavery in the United States, obviously. We abolished slavery. But at the end of the Civil War in 1865, even though 40 acres and a mule was promised by General Sherman to every formerly enslaved person, in most cases that acreage and that mule were not given, and even in the cases where they were, in most cases they were then taken away. What that means is that full economic integration into the new condition of freedom was never achieved. In fact, quite the opposite. Throughout the American South, black code laws were passed, which were to ensure the subjugation of the formerly enslaved population. John Birch Society, Ku Klux Klan, lynchings, the institutionalization of white supremacy and segregation. And those horrors, that next phase of violence against black people in America, was not fundamentally addressed until the 1960s and the Civil Rights Movement. And once again, was progress achieved? Yes, progress was achieved, but we have not finished the job of full reconciliation. Not only that, in many ways we have slid backwards. We have actually chipped away at the Voting Rights Act. Mass incarceration is a horrifying example of an institutionalized racial discrimination in criminal sentencing. We have a problem in our times, and we need to address this problem, not just in incremental ways, but in fundamentals.
So you heard it, folks. The problem is money. Like I said in the beginning, basically, if you had, money to take care of your family needs for the year or for 10 years, and basically you had somebody that been working for you all your life, you know, and you owed that person, and you owed them a big chunk of what you have already, half of what you have. If you gave it to them, then you would have to figure out how you're going to survive for an extra 5 years. You know, when you had enough, all you had to do was knock this person off, or, you know, ignore them. They're not going to do anything anyway. You have guns and they don't, right? And so that's the case right there, part of the case. The other part of the case is they use you, black people, if you don't know, for blood sacrifices. So they're killing you, they're knocking you off, and they sacrificing your blood to their gods for benefits and everything else. It was even said that the police departments are doing that, and that's why they just kill you right away, is because it's a blood sacrifice to their gods. Believe that or not, you know what I mean? And then, you know, on the dark web, I just heard somebody said they were taking black people in the droves, stripping them down and pushing them into a grinder. They already said that missing children end up in the McDonald's meat. So we you know, we're dealing with a lot here. You know, basically, other issues could be, you know, we look down on you. We have someone to look down on. Hey, look, we're doing better than you. If you were to leave, you know, then basically it'll be a problem. If you have more money than us, then you might spend it on something, you know, $1,000. Do you know if they pay black people reparations, the economy would get better right away? Do you know they know that? You know, what is black people going to buy? Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Bugattis, expensive jewelry, houses. The market, people will start spending again, you know, in the droves. The food industry, the hair and nail industry, you know, plastic surgery, everything is going to be booming if you give black people reparations. That's just common damn sense. Because black people are going to, as we say in the hood, spend nigger rich. That's what they're going to do. And so they're going to buy everything under the sun to look good. New sneaks, new this, new that, you know, to brag and boast and show off gasoline prices. I mean, they're going to pay for gas because they got to drive I mean, the automobile industry is going to boom. The hair and nail, like I said, boom. Everything is going to boom, you know, because you gave reparations. That's just how it is going to actually work. So there is a government that says, why should they do better than us? Who are they? You know, we don't like them. Keep them down. Because it is written that Jerusalem will be trodden underfoot by the Gentiles until the end of the Gentiles. You ain't getting reparations. So the Spirit introduced to me reciprocity. That came to me. That word came to me. Reciprocity. And I said to the Spirit, this is real. What the fuck does reciprocity mean? I didn't look it up. I said that's an I've heard the word, but I don't know the meaning of that word. And so a couple of days later, came back to me again. Reciprocity. You know, it came back to me when I was making this video. Reciprocity. Okay, you know, I don't know what this word is. I'm going to spell it out the best I can on Google and see what the hell it means. Reciprocity. Reciprocity. The practice of exchanging things with others for mutual benefit. Now, isn't God awesome? Especially privilege granted by one country or an organization to another. What does that mean? 40 acres and a mule. That's what it means. They may not have the tangible money to give you, but can they send you back to your land? This is our land. It's why I'm showing you this. You know, can they send you back to the land? Can they give you sheep, goats, horses, you know, farming supplies, building materials? Does America have material? Reciprocity. Yes, they do. And then, does America has a good relationship with Israel, who is what? Overseeing our land right now, right? Like the pharaohs. Yes, they do. Cannot Trump just say, you know what? He always talking about bad actors and locking black people up, and you know, why do black people have to come to the country or other nations? Why can't good people like from Sweden come? He could send us home. Tell a rat is our home, we're looking at it. And what is it? It's leveled down like God said in the Bible. It is trodden down by the Gentiles and to the end of the Gentiles. There's nothing there. Acres and acres and acres of land, you know, where you could send us to our own land. We could rebuild our own land. We are going to do it soon, with or without you, because the Bible already said God is going to force your hand. It's like Pharaoh. Pharaoh had no need of the children of Israel, except for it just boosted him up as a false god. His ego, his power, his control. Same thing is with this government, these European nations, a false sense of control. You know, and how can you do better than us? Are we going to go over there and kill each other like they want to believe? No, they already know what's going to happen. We're going to go over there and flourish like God said we will. We're going to go over there and get along like God said we will. We're going to make it like the Garden of Eden, like it is written in the Bible that we're going to do when we get back in our land. The key thing is we are getting back in our land. We don't need reparations. And so the Spirit says, send this to the government. Send this to the people who's listening. Agents, government agents, people are listening to this conversation because they want an edge on the presidency. So they listening to Rap the News. Reciprocity. You're going to hear it probably. You know, if any of them have any damn sense. Give them 40 acres and a damn mule in their own country. You know, but differently. Give them seed. Give them wood to build. You know, give them tools. You know, machinery. So they can build their own. It ain't like we're asking you to come over and build for us. You know, let them plant. Give them trees. And anything. Israel's right next door. It will boost their economy overnight. Just like I said with everything else that we do. It's going to boost the economy. Everywhere we go and any substance that we get is going to boost the economy of any nation that's nearby. This is Rap the News.